Welcome back to Persona Week. Now, as a reminder, again, it is officially the 30th anniversary of Persona this year, and all we've gotten so far is a couple of nice pieces of artwork and stuff like that for the characters and things like that, and that's really nice, that's really dandy and all, but we have yet to see any, actual major announcements in regards to anything major, right, in terms of titles or anything like that, right? Now, the last time we got anything huge or major from Atlas, to my knowledge, as far as the Persona teams go, is Metaphor ReFantazio in 2024, right? Almost won Game of the Year, and honestly, that was my Game of the Year. I loved Metaphor. That was a phenomenal title, right? And I'm really glad that they are working towards the potential of making that into its own franchise, its own little mini series thing to do its own thing, right? I love the idea and the concept of utilizing Persona mechanics in other stories. This is totally fine by me, which is why I like Metaphor ReFantazio. And on top of that, it has its own fun and unique and brilliant mechanics to utilize too, right? So if you have not played Metaphor for yourself yet, please do. It is such a wonderful story, a well-crafted world with unique, oh my god, I love it so much. It's been a minute, I really want to get back to it at some point. I really want to run through it again. That's not what we're here to talk about though, right? With the 30th anniversary, everybody's wondering the same thing. Okay, well obviously the next major project that we know of is Persona 4 Rewind, right? Which is essentially a built from the ground up remake of Persona 4, right? And I made a video I think a year ago now, or maybe almost 2 years ago now. I don't remember when this came about, but it's been a long time since I made this video. And I was essentially saying that I personally, this was before we knew about Rewind, by the way, but I was saying that I personally don't think that we need a Persona 4 remake, right? And this stems from a couple of things, right? For one thing, right, playing through Persona 3 Reload made me, even before then, Persona 5 Royal, right? As much as I love Persona 5 and Persona 5 Royal, Royal improves on so many different aspects and even adds a major element, a major DLC, a third semester, quote unquote. It's not nearly as long as the other two, but it adds a major, elements to base Persona 5, which is great and dandy and all. However, to get to that extra stuff, you still need to go through damn near at least minimum 80 hours of the original base game and stuff like that, with a couple of new elements added in. Of course, they do streamline it a bit more and make going through the game even more bearable than the base game, which isn't bad by any means, but it's still you still have to shuffle through stuff that you already good and well know already, right? So, playing through that, and then the biggest culprit of this situation comes from Persona 3 Reload, because I came to notice that a lot of people were having the same problem as me, which was, it's a fresh coat of paint on a game that we good and well know already, right? I played Persona 3 beforehand, right? I played the story, like I said in my last video, I played the series backwards. I played 5, 4, then 3, and I did play, technically meaning, I played 3 most recently, technically, before I got my hands on Persona 3 Reload a couple years later, right? And the thing with Persona games is, they're long, they're meaty, and they stick with you. You know what I'm saying? It's a good while before I ever feel the need to play through a Persona game again, right? And that's why, picking up Persona 3 Reload, I hate to admit it, but I definitely felt that burnout pretty late, not late, mid-game, right? I got to the point where I was just really okay, wow, this is bar for bar, the exact same game. They already had all the scripts and everything. They just copy and pasted the script for everybody and everything, just with new voice actors. You know what I'm saying? So it's just it was just rolling down that exact same hill. And it's okay, this is cool and dandy and all, but it's I don't know, I was hoping for some kind of unique, fresh, spin on it or something, and, that maybe that's my fault. No, I wasn't expecting it per se, but I feel that is probably the direction that they should have gone, and just added a couple of new, more interesting elements to it. but I don't know. And again, this is coming from somebody that already played Persona 3, right? Well, I'll get back to what I was talking about here specifically in a minute. The second major issue is that, you know, it kind of renders, doing something like this kind of renders the originals kind of obsolete, but at the same time, it's kind of a weird situation, right? Because you have the option to play the original for much cheaper on all modern consoles, all modern hardware. You could get that sucker anywhere. You could get Persona 3, 4, and 5 on any console you want. Literally, PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo, your PC, whatever. They're all there, right? If you want it with that new coat of paint, you gotta shell out a little bit more, obviously, but you have that option to play a more streamlined version of Persona 3. Cool, dandy, but in this economy, you know what I'm saying? Especially when those games do a decent job of standing the test of time, right? Not necessarily 3. I think of all of the games that definitely could have had it, I mean, personally, obviously, like a lot of other people, I think we can all agree that Persona 1 and 2 definitely needs that coat of paint more than anything else. But if we had to pick from the 3 games that made it more popular in the West, then 3 definitely needed it the most, simply because it was just the farthest back. You know what I'm saying? It was the first of the 3, the major 3 to release. You know what I'm saying? So it definitely struggles a little bit more during the test of time, but like for the most part, it's still accessible, it's still playable, it's not that hard to understand, and when you really get into the groove of things, especially after, like me personally, because I played through Persona 5, it was very easy for me to get into a groove with 4 and 3 right afterwards, so it was never really a problem for me to play through the original, and I would imagine that would be the same situation with a lot of people. But because a lot of people played Persona 5, I guess Atlus was kind of expecting people to want more Persona 5, which is exactly what this is. It's just Persona 3 with the Persona 5 jacket on it. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I don't know. It's in a weird situation where, you know, the originals are completely accessible and much cheaper. And so it's just like, you know, why? It's so weird. It's so weird, right? Now, I'm going to say what I said last time, or at least I think I said it last time. Maybe I didn't. I don't know. But I'm going to make it very clear that I'm fully aware. I fully understand that the remakes aren't necessarily geared towards me, if that makes sense. Right? It's not like Pokemon, where they put like an entirely new coat of paint on it, but like also change a lot of different elements and aspects about it. At least, you know, when it came to like Generation 3 and 2 and 1, they didn't do it for 4, but regardless, it's not, it's a very different situation in which it is a bar for bar, that same story, that's those same characters in the same, you know, the same general vibe, you know, but with a familiar coat of paint that newer Persona players, I say newer, I was technically one of them in a way in 2016, but a way for those newer players to more easily grasp that concept, right? So in a way, it's not necessarily for me, but I can't imagine, I can definitely imagine a situation in which, like, it's, while we're not the primary audience, like, they definitely would like to obviously encourage us in a way to relive these games in a new light with a new fresh coat of paint, but for the most part, it's trying to aim towards a newer audience. There's a lot of people out there, you'd be surprised, a lot of people out there that took one look at Persona 3 and 4, the originals, and they were like, no sir, that looks way too old for me. I'm good. It looks way too annoying, way too gross. Can't do it. And they just won't even bat an eye just because it doesn't have the pretty modern graphics, which is pet peeve of mine, man. I can't stand people that just won't just even look or consider. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's so frustrating sometimes. But that's just the gamer boy in me, you know what I'm saying? But for the most part, it's for them. A game like this, a game like Persona 4 Rewind, is to get their attention, to grab their attention and introduce them to a story that they never got to experience because they didn't want to play the originals, or maybe they didn't have a chance to play the originals, but now they have, you know, that incentive, that new fresh coat of paint, and that new modern style of play that would entice them to do so. So it's not necessarily trying to get me, who's already good and well familiar with these characters, with this story, with this world, it's trying to get them. but I imagine they would also want to maximize, you know, some kind of sales by trying to get, you know, people like me and you, people that completely understand Persona and that have been with the series, you know what I'm saying? Because it would be kind of a massive, you know, unfortunate time waster in a way if they're just like, oh yeah, no, old Persona fans, this ain't for you, you know, wait till the next game in 12 years or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I don't know, it's just a weird situation all around when it comes to that, but overall, you know, I'm iffy overall when it comes to Persona 4 Rewind, because on one hand, I really do think that the game in of itself it will be fine. It will be a fine game. I think it's going to be well crafted. I think it's going to be neatly designed. I think it's going to have a new, fresh UI. It's going to have a great take on the music for sure, because they always manage to do. They never fail. If there's something Sega never fails with, ever, is the music. And I know they have a reputation to uphold. So they are in that studio just hitting the mic like crazy. I know Lotus is in there going nuts on it, you know? Maybe not. I don't know if I can't remember. I don't think Lotus did anything for Persona 4, right? Did he? Yes, he did. I'm stupid. Yeah, he did. Yeah. I'm crazy. I'm sorry. Yeah, but they probably have Lotus just going nuts in the booth right now. You know what I'm saying? But for the most part, you know, they're crafting a beautiful game. It's this remake, right? And it's going to be good. And the primary reason it's going to be good is because Persona 4 is already really good. So they already have that perfect baseline for what we need for the game to be good. It's just that with this landscape of gaming and the way that things are getting expensive and just, you know, harder to get our hands on for a reasonable price, it's kind of hard for me to sit here and be like, okay, well, I'm super excited to spend $70 on a game I've played through like 3 times already. Hell, that's another thing, right? I didn't even consider that the remake was coming at some point, maybe this year or next year. Probably not this year, if I'm honest. And that's also, like, the little bit that we saw of the teaser, it still looked relatively early. I mean, then again, you know, it's been a good, like, almost a year now or something like that. It's been a minute since we've seen that teaser, but it still looked relatively early development, which means I highly doubt that next showcase is going to be anytime soon. Maybe they'll give it to us like near the end of the year to give us note that we'll probably be getting it in like 2027 or something like that. But for the most part, I don't even know if it's ready. And I, without even thinking about it, have just been kind of like casually, like every night before bed, just booting up Persona 4, doing a little bit here and there, and just going to sleep. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've been casually playing through Persona 4. It's become a little bit of a cozy game for me again because, you know, I missed that game. I haven't played it in years, you know? So I wanted to boot that sucker back up. God forbid they tell us, like, in the next week or two that, yeah, Persona 4 Rewind is coming this year. It would only make more sense for me to completely cease my playthrough, because if I finish this playthrough of Persona 4 Golden, I'm going to be burnt out. I'm going to get that game and I'm going to run into the exact same situation that I ran into with Persona 3 Reload and the DLC, which is burnout. You know what I'm saying? I've been waiting too long to play through the game again. It's right there. I already have it on my Switch. I could just play it. Or I can wait God knows how long to get the remake of it and play through that way. Probably not even on Switch 2. No, Persona 3 Reload is on Switch 2, so I'm sure they'll probably eventually port it. I don't think it's going to be a day one release, if we're being completely honest. But regardless, you know, it's just kind of a weird teeter-totter situation, which is just like, okay, well, do I completely stop my playthrough now and just wait for the inevitable announcement that we're going to get this game very, very soon? Or do I just take my chances, play through the game, and just, you know, just see what happens, you know? It's kind of a real lose-lose. Because, I mean, I'm probably going to get it. right? I love Persona too much, and I want to see, you know, the quality difference. You know, I want to see the UI. I want to hear the new music. I want to see how they go about certain story beats, see if they change anything, if they do change anything, and I want to see how they handle dungeons now, right? Because unlike the original games for Persona 3 and 4, because those dungeons were completely randomly generated when you would progress through them, you know, except certain floors and stuff like that. But modern, the more modern versions are, they have kind of a, what's the word I'm looking for here? Not nuance. They have a bit of a rhythm, you know, they have a bit of intention in their design when it comes to the dungeon crawling aspect, right? Especially for Tartarus, it was so jarring to go through this like roguelite situation with Tartarus. It was really, really cool. I like the way that they changed that. It made the gameplay a lot more appealing and a lot more easier to get through in comparison to the original FEZ. But like when it comes to Persona 4, you know, you go floor to floor, door to door, whatever. I wonder how they're going to change that, because, you know, we got to find some kind of a middle ground now, because I know they're not going to go back to like the randomly generated, like, simple flooring dungeons, right? I feel like they're going to add some form of nuance to it, but at the same time, they're not going to go balls to the wall with like full ass, like, temple-esque situations like Persona 5 with like genuine puzzles and story involved. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I don't know. I really don't know what to expect with Persona 4 Reload at this point. I just know that I'm iffy about it. And I don't know, part of me knows I want to eventually get that remake just to see what it's going to be like. But the other part of me is like, just 100% certain that I'm going to get to a certain point in that game and just want to put it down. But I won't, because I paid too much money for it. And it's just going to make for just a little bit more of an upsetting experience, you know? But who knows? Maybe I could be wrong about that. Maybe we'll see. I'll end up running into some things that really change my tune about that possibility, you know? Because I really want to see, like, the new voice cast. I really want to see who they get for that, because I loved the Persona 3 Reload cast. They're so awesome. They did such an incredible job. Some even better than... I think that... No, I'd say about equal, I think. No, they had better voice direction this time around, right? Modern voice direction is just a lot better in terms of dubbing stuff, right? So let's be completely honest. Not to shame the original voice actors from FEZ, though. They did an incredible job. You know what I'm saying? But... I want to see what they do with a completely new voice cast and stuff like that. I want to see how they go about that. I'm super curious. I want to see what kind of music they introduce. I want to see how they do dungeons now. I want to see, you know, if they go about introducing the newer personas and monsters and stuff like that, you know? And I just want to generally see how they streamline it a little bit more. I want to see that UI really bad, you know? There's so many things I want to see about this game, and theoretically, I could just look it up online, because everybody and their mamas are going to be recording it and streaming it or whatever day one. But I also kind of want to have that experience for myself. So, I don't know. We will have to see what plays out. But who knows when that's going to be. Either way, happy anniversary to Persona. Hopefully we get something good this year and not another Persona 5 anything. Please, God. I don't want to see Persona 5 anymore. Anyway. Wish y'all would treat Metaphor as good as you treat Persona. Alright, that's enough. So I'm passing the mic over to you guys, and I want you guys to tell me everything that you're thinking in the comment section below. Do you agree with me? Do you have a potential familiar situation with anything that I've said, and it's, you know, starting to feel a little familiar? You know, you kind of have that creeping feeling about Persona 4 Reload or Rewind, that you might feel that burnout. You know, you're kind of expecting that. You're not really looking forward to it as much as you would like. Or are you on the opposing side? I'm absolutely insane. I'm stupid. Persona 4 Rewind is going to be absolutely epic. We're going to get it this year for the anniversary, and it's going to be a good time enjoyed by all. Tell me everything that you guys are thinking in the comment section below, because you know for a fact that I am always going to be down there with you guys. But with that, it does appear to be skedaddle o'clock. So I'm going to go ahead and do just that. I'd like to thank you guys ever so much for watching. I truly do hope you enjoyed. Do me the greatest favor of dropping a like and a comment, and consider subscribing for more content just like this here. And with that, I'm gone. So thanks again, hope you enjoyed, and I'll be seeing you guys in the next video. Do me the greatest favor, taking good ass care, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!